we got a truck in the garage. Not by much. It was a tight squeeze. This is not a very big garage, but we got it in here. No reverse gear, so we're gonna try and figure out, diagnose what's going on with this. 2005 F-150 5.4 liter. So she's a beast mode V8 in here. It's first V8 we had to get a garage so far. We'll get some stuff done on her and figure out what's up with this reverse gear, because that is not gonna work on a plow truck. You know, we got the plow connectors up here. That's not gonna work. Get his reverse working for him and see if we can figure out what it causes. A lot of these cars have reverse problems, so hopefully it's something common and easy to fix. We're gonna just, well, we already did actually jack it up a little bit so it's off the ground right now. Just so that way we can rotate the drive shaft so we can get them out of the way. Transfer case and transmission are coming out just because we need to get to the transmission. Alright, so we're getting ready to drain the transmission oil out of this Ford, and in the infinite wisdoms of Ford engineers and most automatic transmissions, they don't have a drain plug on them. So you have to take the pan off and drain fluid all over yourself and all over the floor and whatever else happens to be nearby. So that's what we're gonna do. I feel like this is absolutely ridiculous if servicing the transmission is part of the regular maintenance on a vehicle, to have to drop the pan to get to the transmission filter and to change the oil. That's a lot of extra work. That's why I don't like automatics. It's just extra work. So, as you can see here, we got all the bolts taken out so far, and we have them all labeled as to not lose anything. The front and rear drive shafts are out. Transfer case bolts to the transmission are out, and the transfer case is out off to the side right now. The frame member's off. Starter and flywheel bolts are all off, and the shifter linkage. And yeah, I also once again labeled everything as to not lose anything. So transmission's out. We are tearing it down right now, just trying to see if we can look for some signs of damage anywhere. But we got the valve body off and we're down into it right now. We're gonna get into these different spots right here. We have to use a bearing separator tool to push this down, and then we'll be able to undo the clips to take it all out. And these are under high tension. There's giant springs in there, so we gotta be careful. But that's what we're gonna do next, and then we're gonna take the pump off. And then once we get to that, we'll be able to pull out all the clutch packs and see what we got. That's the valve body, and I was told that that is basically, if this sticks to the transmission housing, then it's a sign that the transmission overheated, and it did stick a little bit in one spot right here, but it overall doesn't look bad. Yeah, there was some metal shavings in the transmission so far, and also a lot of the fluid is got shit in it, so I'm guessing a burnout reverse clutch pack. That's my prediction so far. So I guess we'll have to see what we got. Alright, so we'll pull this one out first, seeing how it's already loose. This one doesn't have a clip. Some of the other models have a clip, I guess. This one doesn't. And pull out the piston, put the pieces back together and set them aside. These other ones we're going to need to use a bearing separator tool to pull out because we have to push it down. So, alright, time to get these off. I'm not seeing any scoring on anything yet, so that's a plus. This right here definitely does not look good. This whole thing is covered in it. I'm guessing that's friction material from the clutch plates and from the steel plates in between them all. Also, the seal has got some damage right here. We'll clean all this stuff before we even think about putting it back in. Alright, so we got the bottom of the transmission here all taken apart with the valve body off, which you need to do in order to start removing the pump and the input shaft from the internals. We got that out, and we also removed the clutch packs and the rest of the transmission internals at this point. All of the information that I found doing this was through tutorials online on YouTube, so I'm going to leave a link in the description for all the information that I found The video tutorials were excellent and very informative, and they even showed me how to test the transmission with all the ports on there with air and everything. So it was quite informative. The very last thing to remove is the reverse gear, which is where we discovered the problem. Kind of obvious at this point. And it was a broken reverse band. Now, the broken reverse band is a very common problem on these Ford transmissions, and I was kind of suspecting that it was clutch backs, but I was wrong. It was actually the reverse band. Reverse band up against the lugs. This is the new non-broken one, so she's in. Alright, so on this transmission I told you could test it with air pressure to make sure everything's working right before you put it together. So we're at that part right now. My gun's leaking a little bit, so don't listen to that. But once I get to the port on the back here and I hit it, so yeah, it's working this part anyway. We'll do more little clips as we get it together and stuff, and show you how everything's going. It's this port right here next to the big one. Alright, this is the reverse drum. We're testing this one now. So it's actuating as well. Oops. That one's working, so we'll just keep going and show you the next one. I can't really get a good seal on it right now because of the way I have to hold it, but it is also engaging that test. So that's another one that we got down. This is a whole unit we're just about to put back in. Alright, we're down to the last piece of this inside of the transmission here. I'm looking at the picture of the clocking of this right here to make sure we got it lined up right. Here we have the pump and the input shaft back in, and to put the input shaft back in, you kind of have to twist it and find the clutch packs. It can be a little bit difficult to line everything up while you're putting it together. You just want it to kind of drop down in there. We also installed an upgraded valve body plate. The one on this truck had a crack in it, and we didn't want to put that back in, so we installed a thicker upgraded one. Here we got the transmission back together with the tele housing back on, and at that point we reinstalled the transmission. Alright, so we got the transmission all back in. This is actually several months later now, and this is kind of just an update as to what happened and how everything played out. So the transmission's in's working good. The guy's been driving with it for the whole winter season, plowing with it, and he hasn't had any problems with it, so that's awesome. So we totally fixed the problem, which was totally the reverse band broken. It was the most obvious thing right there. Another thing to note about all of this is we did not go through while we had everything apart and replace everything. We did not do a rebuild on this transmission. This was strictly break fix repair. So we just found the problem and repaired that alone. And by doing that, we saved thousands of dollars potentially if you would take it to like the dealer or someplace like that, you know. And the kit itself was probably, I think, about $600 or $700 at the time for the rebuild kit. And I think we probably had total about $250 total in, and that's with fluid included and other parts that we needed along the way. We needed to buy a new dipstick tube and a couple of other things, but all in all, under $250. So a pretty good deal there, and it's still kicking several months later, and it's been plowed with, so we know we did a good job. But just goes to show you don't need to go and do everything that everybody always says. Oh, a full rebuild is recommended. You know, you can take a look at the clutch packs and see if you really think it needs it. If you know the truck was driving fine and all of a sudden you had a problem, clearly something broke. So not too bad to fix. There's a bunch of video series on YouTube that help me out a lot. I'm going to link those in the description. If you guys have this problem, definitely check those out. Everything that I've learned is pretty much going to be in those videos. And it was very detailed and thorough about the whole different Ford Series transmission. So there was a lot of information there. One thing that I did learn was when you're going to reinstall the transmission, you want to make sure that the torque converter does not pop back out at all. There's a tool to hold it in. It's basically just a bent piece of metal with a hole in it to kind of hold it in place. We did not remove the exhaust to do this. We left the exhaust all in place. The bolts were very, very rusty. I think it would have been easier for me to actually cut the exhaust and just patch it again if I needed to put it all back together again. It was the exhaust manifolds and everything was pretty rusty on there, so I really didn't want to get into that. However, if you did need to remove it, cutting it would probably have been a better option. You can get it in and out without having to do any of that. It's just a little tight in there. 2 people and a transmission jack made the job a lot easier. This is the first time I've ever done any of these things with a transmission. I've never taken one apart before, so it was a little bit of a confidence booster to get it working. And if you have this problem, just jump into it. It's really not that bad, and there's tons of information out there. I'll link everything that I found in the description for this. And once again, guys, thank you for watching. I hope this helps somebody, and please like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you next time.